It's Kombucha Brewing Day, so I just finished brewing up this batch of tea. It's got about a teaspoon of molasses in it, half a cup of pure cane sugar. I've got, let's see, I think I did 3 or 4 bags of the Perfect Peach Tea by Bigelow, and then I've got 2 or 3 bags of Red Rose Original Tea that has been brewing. I had it at a slow boil simmer on the stovetop for 10 minutes, and then I pulled it off the hot burner. It had actually gone down a couple inches, so then I added some ice cubes and some cool water to bring the temperature down, and that is getting ready. It's cooling off to get ready to brew a new batch of kombucha. Okay, over here I've got my kombucha that I've had brewing. This one here, this has been brewing. It's ready to be bottled. We reuse our bottles. I've got some bottles right here. We reuse the glass ones that we bought from the store. We haven't had to buy any new glass ones yet, but eventually that'll be down the road. When I'm brewing, these are just coffee filters on top. It keeps bugs out, but it lets the kombucha breathe as it goes. That little guy is actually, when I'm doing my kombucha, just about every batch I'll make a baby SCOBY. And I keep my babies in their own jar in the refrigerator so I can pull and use as I need. So okay, there we go. I've got that set up right there. I'm going to put the camera and we'll start filling bottles. Alright, we're going to start putting our brewed kombucha in bottles. Remove the top. I'm going to also remove the top off of my refrigerated young SCOBYs. Got 2 healthy young'uns in there. Okay. Yes, I leave the SCOBY in there. I'm going to leave him in there while I get a little bit out. I think this batch was a fruit punch, I think. I can't remember. Probably. We do a lot of fruit punch flavored tea. Or a mixed fruit medley. And let's see. Looks like I have a baby on there. So what I did is I took a little bit out, a little bit of the juice, the tea out. Then, yeah, I do have a baby on there. So this is the top of the SCOBY. This is my top. And right here, we have a baby. So the baby, the young SCOBY, this one's actually going to get used today. This guy is going into this jar here. He's going to get lifted back out. We're going to be making another batch. So as you can see, I've got 3 babies in there right now, 3 young SCOBYs. The adult SCOBY is here. It's in my main jar. When I separated the baby from the adult SCOBY, and the adult has sunk toward the bottom, which is just fine. Okay, we're going to finish filling our bottles. You'll see the SCOBY in there floating around as I remove the tea. The SCOBYs, when I first started doing this, I thought, oh my gosh. You look at the SCOBY for the first time and it's like, oh, that's just kind of creepy looking. But, anyway, the SCOBY, I thought, gosh, that's going to be slimy and gross. I could only imagine what this thing was going to feel like. But it doesn't. It feels like wet leather. It's kind of hard. It's got some squishiness to it. But for the most part, they're pretty hard. And I would just compare it to if you had leather that you'd soaked. That's what it feels like. It's not slimy. They're not icky feeling. They don't make my fingers feel creeped out or anything. They look really weird, that's for sure. They win the award for being really weird. I told my husband, I said, I wonder who it was that looked at this thing and said, I'm going to drink that. I'm going to make that. We're going to drink what that thing creates. And could you imagine? I mean, we could probably look it up. I bet you somewhere we'd find somewhere where somebody figured it out. But yeah, ew. You look at it, you go, I am not touching that thing. I don't want to drink anything. You look at that and you think, I need to throw it away. Everything's disgusting. But, yeah, the crazy things that we humans do, right? And these bottles, as you go, they get some foam that builds as you're filling them. So I'll kind of go back and forth a couple jars a little bit. And, whoops, see, overfilled that one. Anyway, as you go on these jars, so I've got some space. I actually can fill it to about here comfortably. And when you do this first batch, there is some bubbling. You can see it. But if you want more bubbling, similar to a soda, let these guys sit for another 3 days on the counter. I put a cap on them and I let them sit in on the counter in a dark spot for 3 days, and then I refrigerate them. When you've allowed them to sit for 3 days, they build up more bubbles. I know there's a term for what they're doing, but it's called a second brew. When you're doing that, you allow them to brew a second time on the countertop, and they get really nice and fizzy. This last batch I did, I took some pineapple and chunked up some small pieces of pineapple and put the pineapple in the jars, and they sat for 3 days on the counter with the pineapple, and that made a delicious batch of pineapple infused, pineapple flavored kombucha. It was really good. We couldn't keep that one in the refrigerator long enough. And a lot of your batches, they tell you that you need to have a gallon jar, and as you can tell, this is not a gallon jar. This is quite a small jar. It was a pickle jar. I cleaned the heck out of it, cleaned it really, really well, and it works just fine. Haven't had any trouble with the batches. I just cut down the amount of tea bags I use, but in all honesty, lately I've been using more tea bags. I like the flavor that we get when we use more tea. We get a richer flavor, and on this batch I showed you what I just brewed on the stove. That batch had some molasses that I put in there. I don't put molasses in every single batch. And the idea behind the molasses is that you're feeding your SCOBY. You're giving it something more than just sugar and water and the tea to feed on. You're giving it something richer, and you'll have a healthier batch. You'll be producing a much better tasting tea. In my opinion, it tastes better. It's got a better flavor. Well, it looks like, I better not push my luck. Looks like I need another jar. Sometimes I get 3 jars, sometimes I get 3.5. Just depends on the size of the SCOBY and the size of the brew. So I'll be right back. I've got to grab another jar. Or I guess I shouldn't call these jars. I need another glass bottle. Alrighty, last jar is ready to go. I know you can see that pie plate keeps lifting up with me. It's because it never fails when I'm making it. I always end up spilling a little when there's that sugar that helps it brew, so it makes a little bit of a stickiness on the bottom. Now the idea is, when you're doing this, you want to leave some of this tea with your SCOBY. I've seen it say anywhere from a cup to 2 cups. When I've done 2 cups, I can't explain it. It's like, I mean, the batch, it turns out fine, but I think you've got so much flavor left over from, like this batch, it was, I believe, a fruit punch batch, or maybe this was blueberry, I don't remember. We're always mixing them. Anyway, so this batch, it's either fruit punch or blueberry. Well, this new batch I just cooked up on the stove is peach. And I've noticed if I leave too much in the bottom, I end up, I don't know, it's just, it tastes, I mean, it tastes fine, but you can taste that other one there. So, I don't know, maybe I'm being picky. There we go. I think that's as much as I want to leave. So I've got 3 full bottles. This one's full to about here. So there's about a cup of liquid in there. The SCOBY is still floating here in the jar. You see the SCOBY in there, he's nice and happy. Kind of see him. Okay, we're going to fill it up. I'm going to go check for, make sure my stuff here on the stove top is nice and cool. It's not too hot. We're not going to cook the SCOBY to death. Alright, here we go. This is where I always make a mess. Here we go. This is the new batch. This is peach. And I fill it up. Right there to the top. Because I'm using the coffee filters, I don't have to worry about it exploding. It's able to breathe the entire time that it's brewing. So there's the new batch. It's going to be a happy brew. I have a towel. So when you're brewing, you want to keep the light off of these guys. So I take a kitchen towel. I do drape it over the top. And then I wrap it around. It keeps the sunlight out. And then I've got this corner in my kitchen where the sun from the window doesn't come through very well, and I just keep it back here in the corner, and this guy will brew. The minimum we've been told is 7 days. We like a brew more toward 10 to 14 days. I think it's got a richer taste. The shorter brew is sweeter, so if you're just starting out with kombucha, the sweeter flavor might be what you're after. Go for 7 days, 7 to 10. But we like more of a richer flavor that you get the longer it brews. So we go 10 to 14. It's also got, I guess, some people call it a little bit more of a vinegar flavor. And I can smell it, but I can't really taste it when we're drinking it. But yeah, I don't know. Your taste is going to adjust the more you drink these. So now I've got these 4 here, these 4 bottles. They are also going to be put back in this back corner, and I will put a towel over the top of them to protect them from the sunlight. I don't have to, but I'm going to. I'm going to loosen those lids just a little. They are going to build some combustion, or they're going to build some pressure in there as they brew. So make your lids finger tight. Don't tighten them down too much. We haven't had a problem yet. We haven't had an explosion happen, but we don't want to tempt fate. So there we go. 3.5 more bottles of kombucha. They're going to sit for 3 days on the counter, then they'll go in the refrigerator, and we could always drink them today, we could drink them tomorrow, but we like 3 days on the counter and then in the refrigerator, ready to go. There you go, brewing kombucha. If you have any questions, ask away. If you want to see me make a certain type of batch, if you want to see a certain process, let me know. Let me think. Oh, if you're making kombucha, do not use Earl Grey tea. It has an oil in it. My husband loves Earl Grey. Cannot use it in kombucha. There's an oil and it will kill your scobies. They do not tolerate an oil. You really don't want to kill these guys. These guys are worth their weight in gold. What do you do with these guys? Okay, well, I've got friends and family that want to brew, so I've given them some babies. I've chopped it up and given some of it to the dog. I've chopped it up and given it to the chickens, the ducks. I've heard that people can eat them. I haven't been that brave yet, but I guess we could eat it. I don't know. I'm still on the side that it looks funky. Like, to me, let me show you. It resembles an oyster or a clam. I mean, clams and oysters are slimy to me. They're ugh. Anyway, my husband loves them. I don't. I cook them for him, but ugh. Anyway, yep, scobies. They are a funky little thing. But yeah, ask away. Any questions, what you want to see, let me know. All right, later.